Hello, fellow heirs. Welcome back to Weekday Wind Down with the Word, where we are reading through the book of Leviticus. And today we will be reading part B of the 13th chapter of Leviticus in the NLT version. This part is all about the treatment of contaminated clothing. So without any further ado, let's start reading. Treatment of contaminated clothing. Now suppose mildew contaminates some woolen or linen clothing, woolen or linen fabric, the hide of an animal, or anything made of leather. If the contaminated area in the clothing, the animal hide, the fabric, or the leather article has turned greenish or reddish, it is contaminated with mildew and must be shown to the priest. After examining the affected spot, the priest will put the article in quarantine for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest must inspect it again. If the contaminated area has spread, the clothing or fabric or leather is clearly contaminated by a serious mildew and is ceremonially unclean. The priest must burn the item, the clothing, the woolen or linen fabric, or piece of leather, for it has been contaminated by a serious mildew. It must be completely destroyed by fire. But if the priest examines it and finds that the contaminated area has not spread in the clothing, the fabric, or the leather, the priest will order the object to be washed and then quarantined for 7 more days. Then the priest must examine the object again. If he finds that the contaminated area has not changed colors after being washed, even if it did not spread, the object is defiled. It must be completely burned up, whether the contaminated spot is on the inside or outside. But if the priest examines it and finds that the contaminated area has faded after being washed, he must cut the spot from the clothing, the fabric, or the leather. If the spot later reappears on the clothing, the fabric, or the leather article, the mildew is clearly spreading and the contaminated object must be burned up. But if the spot disappears from the clothing, the fabric, or the leather article after it has been washed, it must be washed again. Then it will be ceremonially clean. These are the instructions for dealing with mildew that contaminates woolen or linen clothing or fabric or anything made of leather. This is how the priest will determine whether these items are ceremonially clean or unclean. And that concludes the 13th chapter of Leviticus in the NLT version. I would really like to ask a doctor that reads his word if they still use these rules today to deem something as a disease or not. I'm really curious about that. But to me, we could probably use these instructions in our personal lives if we have a sore on us and it continues to spread or it does not heal, then I guess, at that point, then you take it seriously, But if it heals after a few days, according to some of these rules, you don't have anything to worry about. But if it doesn't, or if the hair turns white, or whatever these rules are, then, it's, what to be concerned about and what not to be concerned. But I'm just curious if the professional people use these instructions, and they may not think that they're coming from the Bible, but if they could say, that's what we use in our practice today. That's how we gauge things, today. I'm just curious to know that, because what the Lord says is how it stands. I mean, if something is unclean or if it's a disease, then it's a disease. God said it. And that's it. That settles it. And then this part, even about the mildew, the mold, I wonder, if they use those rules today. I know we had mold in an old house of mine, surface, but I do remember them telling us that after so many days, check it and see if it resurfaces, and then let them know. So I just want to know what you thought about this chapter. It's very interesting. Now I find this part very, very interesting to me, because I'm just wondering about how they do things today. I don't exactly know everything, but I do know that mildew is very serious. It's a very serious thing if it's in your home. So you want to make sure that you take care of that mildew because it can make you sick. So I can see why the Lord says that, hey, if you see mildew, that's something unclean. You don't want to be messing around with mildew. You don't want to be touching it. And you don't want to be ingesting it. So for, anyone that has not had a mildew scare or don't know about mildew, it's something that you need to know because it can make you very sick if it appears in your house. So with that being said, I want to